Deep in a lush green world, long, long ago, lived a dinosaur named Tip. Now, Pip wasn't just any dinosaur. He was a microraptor, which meant he had fabulous feathers and could glide from tree to tree. But Pip had a secret, or rather, a very big idea about himself. He believed with all his heart that he was the biggest, mightiest, most colossal dinosaur in the entire jungle. Every morning, Pip would puff out his chest, stretch his feathery wings, and let out a mighty roar. At least he thought it was mighty. To the other dinosaurs, it sounded more like a little squeak. Roar! I am Pip the Tremendous. Tremble before my size, he'd chirp from the top of a giant fern. One sunny afternoon, a long-necked brachiosaurus named Bree was munching on some high leaves. Pip glided down and landed right on her nose. Ahem, Pip announced. Greetings, little one. Do not be afraid of my immense presence. I am just passing by. Bree blinked her huge, gentle eyes. A tiny beetle buzzed past, and it was almost as big as Pip. Bree let out a low, rumbling chuckle that made the leaves around them shake. Oh, hello there, little fellow, she said, her voice like distant thunder. It's nice to meet you. Pip huffed, his feathers ruffling with indignation. Little, I am Pip, the gargantuan. You are the little one, he declared. Bree just smiled kindly and went back to her lunch. Pip, feeling misunderstood, glided off in a huff. He had to prove his magnificent size to everyone. Next, he came across a stegosaurus named Spike, who was sunbathing near a stream. Spike had big, bony plates on his back and a thagomizer on his tail. Pip landed on one of Spike's plates, which felt like a warm, bumpy hill. Behold! Pip squeaked. It is I, Pip the Monumental. Marvel at my power. Spike opened one sleepy eye. Oh, hi, Pip. Nice day, isn't it? He mumbled, then went right back to sleep. A butterfly landed next to Pip, and it cast a bigger shadow. Pip couldn't believe it. Why was no one taking his enormousness seriously? He decided he needed to do something truly big, something no one could ignore. He saw a tall, rocky cliff in the distance. I will climb to the highest peak and roar so loudly that the whole world will know my name and my size, he vowed. The journey was long and hard for a little dinosaur like Pip. He hopped over roots bigger than himself, dodged dewdrops that were like puddles, and climbed up giant mushroom steps. He felt very brave and very, very big. As he climbed, he met a family of triceratops. The little baby triceratops, who was still much, much bigger than Pip, waddled over. Ooh, a fluffy birdie. The baby cooed, trying to gently poke Pip with his nose. I am not a fluffy birdie, Pip squawked, leaping out of the way. I am Pip the Titan. The mama triceratops gently nudged her baby away. Be careful with the little creature, dear, she said softly. Little creature. Pip had never been so insulted. He hurried on, more determined than ever. Finally, after what felt like forever, he reached the base of the tall, rocky cliff. He looked up. It was even bigger than he had imagined. Perfect, he whispered. A challenge worthy of my greatness. He began to climb. He used his little claws to grip the rock and his feathery wings to help him balance. It was tough work. A gentle breeze felt like a hurricane, trying to blow him off the cliff face. A small lizard skittered past him on the rock wall, and it looked like a monster truck driving by. But Pip didn't give up. He was Pip, the colossal, and colossal dinosaurs don't quit. As he climbed higher, the world below got smaller and smaller. The giant ferns looked like tiny sprouts. The mighty brachiosaurus looked like a little lizard. The sunbathing stegosaurus was just a speck. Aha! Pip thought. From up here, everyone looks as small as they truly are. And I am up high where I belong. He finally reached the very top of the cliff. He was exhausted but proud. He stood on the edge, took the deepest breath his tiny lungs could manage, and let out his roar. Roar! It echoed, but it was still just a little squeak against the vast open sky. He waited for the jungle to tremble, for all the dinosaurs to look up in awe. But nothing happened. The world just kept on being the world. Just then, a huge shadow fell over him. Pip froze. He slowly turned around. Looming over him was the biggest, scariest dinosaur he had ever seen. It had sharp teeth as long as Pip's whole body and a deep rumbling growl that shook the very rock he stood on. It was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. "And what?" the T-Rex rumbled, its voice like an earthquake. "Is a tiny little snack like you doing on my mountain?" Pip stared up at the giant mouth, the huge yellow eye blinking down at him. For the first time, Pip saw just how small he really was. He was no bigger than one of the T-Rex's teeth. He wasn't monumental, he wasn't a titan. He was ... tiny. Pip's whole world shattered. He was just a little, squeaky, feathery dinosaur. But then something strange happened. The T-Rex wasn't lunging. He was just looking at Pip with curiosity. Pip, realizing he might be about to become lunch, did the only thing he could think of. He puffed out his chest, just like he always did. I am Pip," he squeaked, his voice trembling. "And ... and you are on my cliff." The mighty T-Rex blinked. Then he let out a laugh. It wasn't a scary laugh. It was a deep, booming belly laugh that echoed across the canyons. "Your cliff?" the T-Rex chuckled. "You've got a lot of nerve, little fella, I like that." The T-Rex, whose name was Rex, wasn't mean at all. He was just big. "My name's Rex," he said. "What's a little guy like you doing all the way up here?" Pip, still shaking a bit, explained his quest to prove how big he was. Rex listened patiently, nodding his huge head. When Pip finished, Rex looked at him. "You know, Pip," he rumbled gently, "being big isn't about your size. I'm big, and sometimes it's a pain. I'm always bumping my head on trees and I can't hide anywhere." He looked down at Pip. "But you climbed this entire cliff all by yourself. That's something I could never do." "My claws are too big, I'm too heavy. You're brave and you're a great climber. You have wings you can glide with. That's a pretty big deal." Pip looked at his own little claws and his feathery wings. He had climbed a whole mountain. He could glide through the air like a leaf on the wind. He wasn't big in size, but he had done big things. A slow smile spread across his little beak. Rex was right. He didn't need to be the biggest dinosaur to be great. "You know," Rex said, "from up here, everything does look small. It gives you a good perspective." Pip glided onto Rex's giant snout, and together they looked out over the jungle. The world was huge and beautiful, and they were both just a part of it. Pip learned that day that it doesn't matter how big you are on the outside. It's the size of your heart and your courage that truly makes you mighty. From that day on, he was no longer Pip the Tremendous. He was just Pip, and that was more than big enough.